Okay, everybody, let's talk about the next part of our lesson, Conversation B. Now, remember, Sally and Dennis are at the朱銘Museum, and they walk outdoors. Outdoors means you're not inside. The opposite of outdoors is indoors. And Sally spots something called the giant parachutist. A parachutist is somebody who jumps out of an airplane with a parachute. And a parachute is a big piece of cloth with strings attached to it. Soldiers in a war will jump out of airplanes with parachutes. And again, a person who does this is called a parachutist.
Well, Sally's surprised to see art outside. She says she's used to seeing art on the wall, inside or indoors, not falling from the sky. So she is impressed by what she sees. Now, we use this phrase, to be used to something, to talk about something we've done before, something we're familiar with, maybe something you've seen before too. You know, when I got to Taiwan, I wasn't used to the humidity, how much water is in the air. I wasn't used to it, but now I'm used to it. I've been here long enough.
So she's not used to this. It's kind of unusual to her to see art falling from the sky. Well, Dennis says, well, get ready because you haven't seen anything yet. That means if you think that's special, well, there are lots of other special things in this museum to check out. All you have to do is walk around and see them.
She takes out a map and decides to see what else there is there. And she says, you mean to tell me this is an outdoor museum? She's very surprised that they're actually seeing art outside and not protected inside. And he says, yep, it's the only one in Taiwan, which makes it very special. It took the artist朱銘 12 years to build it. It's also considered his largest work of art.
And then Sally and Dennis walk around and check out this outdoor museum. And they approach a troop of soldiers. Soldiers, of course, are men who fight in the army. And a group of soldiers is sometimes called a troop of soldiers. Maybe you have 30 or 40 or more soldiers together in a troop.
Now, Sally reaches out to touch one of the soldiers, and Dennis says, "Attention!" And we always say it this way, at least soldiers do. We don't say, "Attention!" We say, "Attention!" which means pay attention and stop moving.
And Sally, of course, freezes. She holds still and she says, wow, you sound like a real soldier. You're not just playing around. And he says, well, that's good because we need to review an important rule. And that rule is don't touch the artwork except where signs permit it. If you review something, that means you look over the information again to make sure you understand it. You will review lots of vocabulary words, for example, before an English test.
Oh, yeah, that's important. Well, she's not supposed to touch the artwork except where signs permit it. If something is permitted, it means you're allowed to do something. It's not against the rules or it's not against the law. So you have to be careful when you go to a museum. Don't just reach out and touch things. You'll be in trouble if you do.
Sally's still trying to be a soldier, so she salutes and says, yes, sir. And Dennis goes on to say, it's every visitor's responsibility to protect the artwork in the museum. Responsibility, that refers to something that you have to do. You are in charge of that thing. It is your responsibility. It is your duty. So, of course, if you're working in a company as a manager, you probably have lots of responsibilities, things that you need to do. Otherwise, you might lose your job. Well, here, responsibility is our power word for today. Let's take a closer look.
Word Power. Hi everyone and welcome to Word Power. Our word for today is responsibility. Today, Dennis said it is every visitor's responsibility to protect the artwork in the museum. Responsibility is a noun that means a duty to be in charge of somebody or something. For example, Kevin has a responsibility to take care of his little brother when his parents are away. Or, Gary has a responsibility to get the project finished by the end of the week. We also have the adjective responsible, which describes one who always does what he's supposed to do. For instance, you can trust Mark to get the job done, as he is a very responsible person. That's all the time we have for Word Power today. Thanks for listening.
So we find out here that it's every visitor's responsibility. Every single person who goes to the museum needs to help protect the artwork. Now, when you protect something, you keep it safe from harm or getting damaged, perhaps, which means you need to be very careful when you're in a museum not to push or knock anything over or especially touch it.
So, for example, sometimes people put their books inside book covers to protect them. And, of course, Sally salutes him again and says, "Aye, aye, Captain," which is another way of saying, "Yes, sir, Captain." And Dennis goes on to say, "If you can follow this order, this thing that I'm telling you to do, then we'll have a wonderful day. We'll have a great time at this outdoor museum." And then he continues playing the role of a soldier. He says, "Forward, march." And marching, of course, is what soldiers do when they're getting ready for war.
And this is a familiar command or order that their leaders will give them. Forward, march. And they start marching forward. Whoever knows where they're going. Well, they're having a good time at the museum. We're going to leave them there now and listen to our Chinese teacher for some more explanation.